Todd Herman, welcome to the EO360 podcast. Thanks for joining me.
I'm super pumped to be here. In between me co-founding Zoom and Claude and all these
Yeah,
other platforms we were
yeah,
just
I
talking about.
know. Very, very impressive. This is so I just learned about a minute and a half ago that Todd Herman here was a performance coach for athletes and executives and entrepreneurs. He's a speaker and he's an author and he's I don't know, he's a thought leader. And I thought we were just going to talk about that stuff. And I found out about 30 seconds ago that he's also the owner of a software company. And that just led us down this silly path of talking about all these
Yeah,
companies.
these other random things that we co-founded and just we're just incubating on them. We're gonna see if maybe Claude or GPT or something takes off. So
Yeah, I
anyway,
think I think you're going somewhere with that one you're calling Zoom. I think that's pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. We've got we're growing pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, if
So
only if only we could have like can you imagine a scenario where just something happened in the world? I don't know, I don't know, something that made everybody just stay indoors and they couldn't go to work for a year. Like that would really help your business, wouldn't it?
boy, did we ever engineer that marketing campaign well.
Well done. I think I'm going to start a like an indoor bike company, like a spinning sort of bike.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Better
going to
exit
get,
quickly though, because all of a sudden it'll really tail off on you as
yeah,
well.
that's a good
Yeah.
point. Forget it. Never
Never
worked.
mind. Never mind.
All right. Todd Herman, welcome. Thank you for your time. I too am really excited about this. I think you were being facetious, but I'm being sincere here. I am super excited to talk about this concept of alter egos
Hmm.
because there's a lot of things that I fear, like most people. I think I fear different things than other people, but there's things I fear, and I think this concept of an alter ego.
Yeah.
I've adopted elements of it, and I'll share some of those with you a little bit later. But I'm really, really looking forward to talking to you about this. I already introduced you a little bit. You're a performance coach for athletes and entrepreneurs, and you're a speaker, which is how I met you. You were speaking at an EO event, Entrepreneurs Organization event, and you got this book called The Alter Ego Effect:
Yeah.
Defeat the Enemy, Unlock Your Heroic Self, and Start Kicking Ass. And then you
Well,
also,
ironic. Okay, so
it
thank you. That was the original working subtitle. This
is
is
not anymore.
no, it never was. It
I
was just
got
the
that on
plate.
Amazon. What do you
I
mean?
know. That's what's on the Audible audio. But when you go to the actual, if someone was getting the ebook or the published version from Harper, it's The Power of Secret Identity to Transform Your Life. But do you think we could get Audible to take away that? It's been there for 5 years now. So
No, it's never going to happen.
no, it's
Uh,
it's not.
Never going to happen.
But sorry to cut you off. Yes. You're not the first who, when they come across the idea, go, you know what, like this is interesting. I feel like I've done some of this and I've heard of other people, but and then there's a but, and then whatever they want to fill in after that. Some people go like they're really engaged with it. They're like, I never realized that this was an actual thing. Or I thought I was actually doing something wrong. Like I was being inauthentic because I was using this. And so my great discovery in working with, I've been doing performance coaching since 1997. And this was this kind of um, golden thread that started revealing itself amongst my best clients was that they would use a persona or a character or an identity to help them be more intentional with how they wanted to show up on whatever their field of play was, whether it was a court or the ice surface if they were a hockey player or a football pitch. And I just found it fascinating. Like most of us who are entrepreneurs, we're curious about things. And I'm like, hey, why? I did this when I played college football. I had my alter ego. I didn't go out there as Todd. I went out there as Geronimo. And so this must be a thing. But wait, no one's talked about this. Why haven't they talked about it? Why does this work so well? Because I anchor towards kind of science and explanation. And so that's what kind of ended up creating this methodology that I ended up becoming kind of world renowned for and ended up getting a chance to work with some pretty incredible talents and still do every single day.
Yeah, like Kobe Bryant,
Yeah.
basketball legend, and Number one ranked tennis player, Rafael Nadal. Is it Nadal? Did I say that right?
Yeah, Nadal. Yeah.
Yeah, Nadal. And then a famous footballer, Cristiano Ronaldo. Yeah. And I'm sure there's a much longer list than that, but I mean, those are three of the very popular
Yeah.
people you've worked with. And you know what you said, yeah, a lot of people have that response, like, I've done something like that. And I think that might be part of what makes it so brilliant in what you're doing. You're taking something that's already in a lot of us, like something that we all know kind of works, and you're putting a framework around it,
Yeah.
which makes it super appealing because it's not hard to understand. Like
Yeah.
what's the book? The Alter Ego Effect. Like, boom, kind of know what that is already.
That's right.
Just
Yeah.
explain it to me now. How do I do it?
Yeah.
And
So
it's beautiful. Like, that's beautiful. Like, I love
Dave,
that.
with everything I've ever done in business, I'm a bit of a dummy. I like to just call things what they are. So like I've got like the alter ego effect. Or even what you were just talking about with the software company that we have. It's
Yeah,
Up Coach. So
up
like
coach. That's right. Yeah.
it serves coaches that serve clients. It's a platform specifically for them, not an LMS where you just stuff courses into. Like there's certain parts of the activity of coaching and mentoring and advising people that you need some different tools. And so that's what we do in there. And then my performance system is called 90 Day Year. Anyway, my point is I like naming something exactly what it is. Maybe it's the farm kid in me, and I grew up on farm and ranch, and I'm very pragmatic that way. But yeah, people when they
So,
hear it, they
wait,
go,
the
yeah,
90-day year, that's your thing?
yeah, yeah,
Good. That's amazing because I've actually bumped into that in the past as well, and I had no idea that was you. Man, I swear to God, I did my research, and I didn't know you owned a software company or you were responsible for the 90-day year. I was just coming to talk about ego effect, man.
Well,
Um,
we can chew on that. That's a big talk. But
but
the
wait
my
a
my
minute, up
world is
coach
all
though.
about just helping people perform. Period.
Okay, so up coach though. Let's just spend a minute on this since you brought it up. I was going to bring it up towards the end and just jump right into
Yeah.
ego, but let's talk about this for a second. So I'm on your website right now, upcoach.com, and so is basically a tool for coaches to manage their clientele. Is that right?
Yeah. So
And you have six. I think you told me before you hit record, you have 6,000 coaches on this, and
6,000 coaches and
you've
coaching
only
organizations.
it's only 5 years in right now.
That's right. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And the growth largely happened overseas. Even though, North America and America likes to think that it's a very saturated market, but in say places like Eastern Europe, coaching is growing at a rate of 3,600% every year. Latin America is growing at 1,800% a year. And these were our stats just from 2024. So our growth really happened in places outside of North America. But yeah, it's and the great thing is it's been very much a product-led growth business just from
Hmm.
clientele, and we've done everything we can to try to engineer it that way. So yeah, it's been a fun way for me to be able to give back in some ways to the industry that I've been inside of now for, coaching wasn't an industry in 1997 when I started. And I had to do a lot of explaining as to what I was doing, let alone the mental game stuff. I mean, boy, that was a completely different beast to try to market and sell because people weren't buying it necessarily. Nowadays, everyone takes it for granted that people will easily invest in their own, mental game or their own inner game, but that was not the case when I'd started.
There's one more thing I want to mention in from your bio. You've got a children's book, which I think I'm sure it's a smaller thing. I'm not sure. I would assume it's one of your smaller achievements, but I think it's worth noting because I'm sure a lot of people here have kids, and this is just such a great concept for a kid to get their arms around. It's called My Super Me: Finding the Courage for Tough Stuff and
Yeah.
Kicking Ass.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Make sure you put that at the end. That goes on the end of every single tagline I
Right.
have.
I mean, as every
Um,
book you have ends with "and kick
and kicking
ass."
ass. Um, yeah, and again, that book was born out of just a bullying experience that my daughter was going through about a month before my original book was coming out, The Alter Ego Effect. And I kind of resolved, oh, I'm going to take this message and then put it into a kid-friendly, basically 4 years to eight. That's my target group is 4 to 8 year olds with it. And then even the cover of it was designed really by my daughter. I'm a big kind of illustrator, and so she's the one who drew the little stuffed animal monster on it, Captain Storm. And then I originally was writing it as a girl being the hero of the story, but as a little 6 year old who had a 1 year old little brother, Molly said, no, 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 we need to write this for Charlie, who was my son. So that's why there's a little boy on the cover. So that's really meant to be
I
Charlie.
love I love
But
how you
I'll tell you a quick story about that,
yeah.
and this is for other people too. Um, I've been known in my industry as someone who, um, well, Bert Kreischer said it when I was on Bert Kreischer's podcast, and he's become a good buddy. He said, "This is going to be a fun interview because you're not afraid to throw punches at other people." And I said, "No, I don't throw punches at people. I throw punches at bad ideas. If their mouth happens to be saying the bad idea, that's on them." Because my problem in this industry of, you called me a thought leader. I would never call myself a thought leader. Right? Like all of us, you shouldn't. I'll let someone else call me that, but I'm not going to go out there and say that. Listen, I know I'm world class at a couple of things. But my problem with this industry is they speak in very evangelical terms. Even my book, for example, The Alter Ego Effect, I don't sit here and say everyone has to go get an alter ego. All I'm trying to give to people is, hey, here's another tool that you can put in your toolkit for navigating the ambitions that you have.
Mhm.
And what I know is that people who know how to move through and shift through their identities, shed old ones that don't serve them anymore, are able to move towards their goals a lot more quickly because they're not being held back by old ideas of what they were and they haven't graduated into a new idea. The alter ego of the method itself that I have in the book is just a really elegant and creative way to use the natural parts of how our brains are wired to get there. And there's nothing inauthentic with it. So my point is I don't stand on stage ever and say everyone has to have an alter ego, and the only way that you can be successful is having an alter ego. So that's what I mean by I don't mind throwing punches at bad ideas. Having said all that, the reason I'm saying that, I was talking to Jocko Willink about children's books because Jocko wrote a children's book,
That guy's a
and
riot, by the way. He's such a
yeah,
wacko. Also author of what's the name of his book? Do you remember?
discipline.
What was it?
His book on discipline.
Yeah, it's like unwavering or no, that's it's a Dandapani.
The Untethered Soul.
No, I'll get it. I'm sure everybody
I'm
listening
just
to this
kidding.
already knows what it is. But go ahead. Tell me about your conversation with
Oh
Jack.
yeah, so we were talking about it, and we were both laughing because they said out of anything that we could have ever gone and done, there is nothing that takes off the harder edges of your quote personal brand better than a children's book. Because apparently you can't be an asshole if you wrote a children's book.
Yeah,
So,
well, I don't
but
know about that.
the only reason I was able to go and write that book, sorry to cut you off, Dave, is
No.
because my alter ego that I built for myself as a dad was Mr. Rogers. And so if you ever read that book and then you filter it through the way that Mr. Rogers would speak, that's why it's written the way that it is.
Hmm.
And I built Mr. Rogers as my alter ego because as someone who works with really high profile people with big personalities, my coaching persona had to have a pretty tough edge to him. And when you flex that muscle or that habit and identity every day for decades, you can quickly start to believe that that's who you are. That's just who I am. I'm just short. I'm to the point. But that's not everything that I am. I've got access to a lot of other attributes and traits. I just haven't practiced them through a new role. And my new role that was coming up was me being a dad. So I'm like, oh, how can I play with some new traits? Patience and kindness. And not that those things weren't there, but they weren't elevated because of my, you know, entrepreneurialism or my coaching and my speaking. Being fun and playful. That's where I wanted to anchor my idea of who I was as a dad. And Mr. Rogers just became my source of inspiration for how to do it.
So the Mr. Rogers is, by the way, I just want to say this before we go too far. Extreme Ownership is the book I was thinking
Yes.
of. And his children's book is Way of the Warrior Kid.
Yeah.
Um, some so from Wimpy. Hold on one second. I'm looking for the subtitle here. From Way of the Warrior Kid. I got nothing. I'll come back to that later. But anyway, Way of the Warrior Kid. All right, so let's go back to Mr. Rogers. Um, so you have multiple alter egos for different components of your life. So you have your coaching alter ego, you have your dad alter ego, Mr. Rogers being your dad alter ego. I think I remember your coaching alter ego is a combination. Can I say
Hmm.
it? Do you mind if I spill
Yeah,
the
yeah,
beans?
go right ahead.
It's a
Yeah.
combination of Ben Franklin, 1970s. I love how you clarified
Yeah.
this. The Superman, the 1970s Superman, though, and Joseph Campbell, the originator of the hero's journey. And so that's your is that your work?
No, that was originally built not as my I didn't really need help with I mean, I already had a strong sense of, you know, who I was as a coach. Even when I started, I started very young. I was just before my 22nd birthday is when I'd started the Peak
Hmm.
Athlete, my performance company. But I was not doing the things I needed to do to grow my business. I was terrified of rejection and resistance. I thought that the way to grow my business was word of mouth. I shouldn't, if you're good, you don't need to go out there and market it. And all of these really bad paradigms and beliefs that I had about whether it was myself, I'm not good at sales, I'm not good at promoting myself. I shouldn't promote myself anyway because now I'm going to come across as a used car salesman. Just, like we all have these
The inner
things.
dialogue, right? Like that
Or,
that
or
just
the
that negative voice in your
the
head.
invisible strings that we don't even know are there that are
Hmm.
holding us back. That's actually the stuff that gets in most people's way as someone who's done this for a long time. So, but I did have a desire to do this thing. I really loved working with the young athletes that I had the chance to work with, but I wasn't turning it into a business. And I would go to bed at night, beating myself up with my head on the pillow, resolving that I was going to make tomorrow different. And then I would wake up and I would repeat what I had done the day before, which was not make the phone calls, not, try to get in front of more people and do a workshop or a speech. And so
By the way,
I
you said young athletes. So you were working with kids
I was only
to
working
s-
with, yeah,
to start. That was your original coaching. That was your journey, your
yeah,
entry into
that
the coaching world.
that mid-range group of kids that have got skill and talent are playing on the higher level teams in
Hmm.
their age groups, very much pre-college. So they're about 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. That was my wheelhouse of youngsters that I was with, and I was super cheap uh, back then. But I wasn't turning this into a business. I was almost treating it still like a hobby. And I got the inspiration basically just from my own memory of, hey, wait a second, I had an alter ego for how I wanted to show up on the football field because my insecurity of how I'm not physically gifted. I'm not a big guy. I'm not 6'4", 240 pounds, but I love football and I want to go out there and deliver because I'm competitive. I want to go out there and deliver my best performance, but I can't take this nonsense with me that I'm, too small and I can't compete out there. So I built an alter ego, Geronimo, to help kind of encapsulate my heroes for how I wanted to play on the football field. Ronnie Lott, Walter Payton, and then 5 Native American warriors. That was my alter ego that I took out there. And in the book, I walk through the entire process for how how we do it, how other people have done it, and all the little psychological switches that flick along the way. So now, fast forward, I started this business, and I'm avoiding marketing the business. And I was like, wait a second, what if I used Geronimo? Geronimo really was built for football. Well, who would be my new source of inspiration? And it was Benjamin Franklin, who if people know anything about him, the career that he had, multiple careers, they were just at the apex of each of the different disciplines that he went into. And then, so I wanted that confidence, like someone who can shapeshift like that. That's incredible to me. And then I wanted the dynamic, uh, sort of take action approach of Superman, right? Goes into the phone booth, changes and goes, and he goes and he saves and he executes the task. He does it. I was
Yeah.
not executing the
He
task at all.
Superman gets shit done. Like, yeah.
Decisive. Decisive was the word I was looking for.
Okay.
And then the third one was, here I am, I'm starting out. I have no way of describing what it is that I do. I'm completely inarticulate. I can't explain in a way that other people resonate. And I wanted to communicate like a hero of mine, Joseph Campbell. I remember watching a PBS special on this, and he's to other people, he's the one who invented the hero's journey model, which is copied throughout almost every single movie you can imagine. But his ability, I think I was 11 or 12 when I watched that PBS special. And here I am just mesmerized by this guy's ability to keep me captured and engaged when talking about mythology. So I borrowed those three to help me build Super Richard, which was custom built to help me go and sell and market my business, to be the promoter of Todd's stuff. And the great thing about it is when your brain has a very clear idea of what you're trying to move towards, again, the alter ego in this sense, it it focuses energy and it allows you to now, for in this case, I'm practicing this identity. I'm practicing being decisive. I'm practicing being articulate. I'm practicing being confident through the lens of these three heroes that I'm, you know, emotionally inspired by.
It gives you boundaries, right?
Key.
Like it's almost like a
Key.
set of rules to play by. Because if you tell me to go do something, I'm just gonna try to go do it, right? But
Sure.
if you say go do something like Geronimo, go
Yeah.
do something like Superman, now you kind of have a little bit of a guideline on how to behave while you're doing this thing. So like that's fascinating to me. Now,
And it taps into a completely different part of your brain, which accesses your creative imagination. Because now your perspective has shifted, which is a really difficult thing for a lot of people to do.
hmm,
Because when they think about going and doing something different, most people are looking at it through the perspective of me and what I can do. But when I say, no, 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 I want you to go out there and compete on that basketball court like you're Kobe. Don't be Dave. Go be Kobe. Kobe. There's a lot of power in just that language right there. One, it helps to disassociate. It helps to actually create a protective shield of judgment. Because if you go out there and fail, who are you? You're not failing as Dave. You're failing as being a second rate version of Kobe, maybe.
yeah,
So what?
Kobe failed, not me.
Yeah. You just don't, you're like, oh, I went out, I tried it as Kobe. And that elasticity, that flexibility, that's really important. And the physiological level, like in sports, because that 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 flexibility is important so that we can access the learned and trained behavior that we've practiced in the comfort of the putting green or the basketball court. It's critical to allow someone to get the most out of what they've already been doing.
So, Todd, there was a time before I knew about you, not too long ago, actually, it was just this summer. Um, I have a boat, and it's a power boat. I used to sail. Now I have a power boat, and a power boat's bigger, meatier, got more a little more muscle to it, and docking can be like for some reason we all back in when you're a powerboard. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
an ego thing or if there's actually a reason we do it, but we back into our slip when you're docking. You don't do that with sailboats. So sailboats are a lot easier to dock if you ask me. They also have a keel which keeps you from drifting. My point is
Yeah.
docking a powerboat when you haven't been doing it all your life is really scary because powerboats are also super expensive. And so if you bump into something, like you
Yeah.
can't bump into something. You really shouldn't bump into somebody else's boat. Like you gotta like really be on on the mark.
Yeah.
So I go out, and if it's windy or there's a current, I get really nervous. Like it like a half hour before we're coming in, I start thinking about it, like, oh man. So what I did this summer, and I don't know what made me think of this. I did two things at two different circumstances. One is I started like singing a Marilyn Manson song in my head,
Hmm.
Beautiful People, because it's got this really like powerful beat to it. And so I just started, I'm up on the fly bridge and I'm like, dun, 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 and I'm like singing this song. I'm getting myself all pumped up. And then I got there and it's like, I was already like, my chest was out a little. I had this confidence and freaking nailed it. And then another time I actually did the Superman song in my head and super cheesy, but I didn't care because it was my head and it was just
Yes,
me. I had
that's right.
nobody to perform for. So anyway, the point is like those, that's an example of some of the things that I brought to certain circumstances in my life. Now you said something, this is leading to a question. You said that you were describing very particular parts of your life, and then you described people and characteristics about those people that you admired. When I saw you speak, one of the things I was struggling with is like, okay, so maybe you choose Ryan Reynolds or James Bond
Hmm.
as your you had one in there that you used as an example. It was uh, uh, Cary Grant, right?
Yeah,
So now Cary Grant, and you showed this picture of Cary Grant, and he just looks so suave, like
yeah.
so cool. And it's kind of like James Bond too, like suave, cool, confident. If I went out, like suppose I went on a date and I wanted to like impress the woman, I'm like, I'm gonna behave like James Bond. That just wouldn't work for me. I mean, I could do it. I could probably pull it off, maybe for an entire date, but it's just not me. So
Okay,
how do
so
you reconcile
chapter
that?
three of the book, it's exactly
Okay.
what I talk about. So now we have to remember like a rule of first principles. I look at nature as a rule. The moment someone says this thing is only ever good, well, that defies the laws of nature. Nothing can only ever be good. So, water, as an example, water isn't only ever good. There's hyperhidrosis and hypohidrosis. We can have a drought, not enough water. We can have a flood, too much water.
You can die in it.
You can die in it.
Yeah.
Last thing you want when you're floating in the middle of the ocean and your powerboat's engine is lost is more wave. You don't
Thank you,
want
by the
more.
way. I'm going to put that in the bank for
Yeah,
next time. Yeah,
you're
good.
welcome.
Thanks. Yeah.
I'm just testing you on your mental strength right there.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's important for people to understand because alter egos. Okay, Todd, so you're saying that alter egos can only ever be good? No, of course not. Alter egos could end up just like any identity ruling you, especially when, and I talk about it in chapter three of the book, when your motivation is an outside in motivation.
Hmm.
You're doing it to try to impress the girl when you're on the date.
Yeah.
Now it's very performative in that
Yeah.
mode, right?
Oh, that's so good the way you said that. Yeah.
Yeah. So instead, if it's like, okay, so you talked about James Bond as an example, and there's, and let's say you are someone who like, man, I'm always drawn to that character. I'm like, me as the coach now, I'm like, what about him is like really inspiring or motivating about him? And you could say, just, I like how even when there's a bunch of chaos going on around him, he
So
really kind of
smooth. So
he's
calm.
just smooth. He's just stable in his character. And this is actually a conversation I've had 1,000 times because James Bond is someone that does come up. So I'm anchored to, oh, like, so when you're watching him, that's what you're anchored towards. Like, he's like the eye of the fucking storm to
Yeah.
you, isn't he?
The
He's
eye
like,
of the fucking storm. Yes.
yeah. And so, okay, well then what does that look like? If you were to practice in it and it became a real part of how you showed up, not just on dates, but just in the world, what does
Yeah.
that look like? Like, how are you sitting in a chair? Because I want to bring this idea into the physical world, into your behavioral world. What does it look like? Is there a certain head tilt that you have? And the reason you have the head tilt is because you are intently listening to the person. It's a way of you mirroring back to them, right? And so my point is there's a way of embodying this that serves the you that you're trying to be more of, as opposed to I'm doing it because I want you to think I'm really fucking cool because I have a 1965 Porsche 356S and I drive like that's performative. I don't do it that way. I'm all about character building through the lens of people you're already inspired by,
So
which
riddle
flicks
me
the whole.
this then. So the Marilyn Manson song that I'm playing in my head, obviously, like I don't have any real fascination with Marilyn Manson. I think it's kind of weird. I'm not trying to mimic him, but the sound, the music, the feeling that gave me gets me pumped up. Are we talking about the same thing or are these different
I would say that's
tools?
that's a different classification
Yeah.
of things. So like going back to Kobe, um, as
Black
we can
Mamba. Yeah.
the Mamba, and as we're like when we built out that alter ego in
Hmm.
2003, which by the way didn't start as the Black Mamba, and I had said this in the speech. It started off as just a snake, and then it evolved, just like everyone's identity evolves, right? So we the name the Black Mamba didn't get settled on until about 8 months into it, but the source code of inspiration of the snake was there, and then we continue to layer on more things to help build the strength of this world, and one of them was the him listening to uh, the Halloween song over and over and over again. Um, and that's just that haunting sound is what helped to bring him into the kind of what the word that he would use is I want to commune with the snake. I'm going to get inside the cage. Most people, when we're building out, because I build out mental movie theaters and stuff for people to go into and practice skills. And it's you've probably heard of visualization is so important, and many people
Oh
that are
yeah.
listening
Oh
hear
yeah.
that. And
I
I just
use that
caution
tool a
people.
lot.
Yeah, and I just caution people that visualization is actually a very challenging skill to build. People throw it around like it's very easy, um, and I just want to remind people because if you can't do it or you feel like you're not doing it very well, it's because it is difficult. It's like any skill, you got to do it.
Hmm.
Everyone here visualizes already, or they use their imagination to create a scenario in their head. Some of it is sound, some of it is visual. But to be able to direct your thought energy towards what it is that you want is a very different skill because most people have flexed the muscle of what they don't want, which going back to you being on the boat, you
I
when the
don't want to
water,
bump into the other boat.
yeah,
Yep.
and so now your thinking energy is going towards the scenarios that you don't want to
Yeah.
build.
Yeah.
Just haven't practiced the neural pathways of thinking about, well, what is it that you do want?
So there's some analogy, well, not analogies, other examples of that I've heard many, many times. Don't look at where you want to kick the ball, or don't look at the tree when you're skiing.
Sure.
Look at the gap in between the trees.
Where do you want to go?
Yeah, look at the open space. Don't look at the goalie. Look at the space to the right of the goalie when you're kicking the ball.
Yeah.
Of course, that might give it away to the goalie. So, so you have you brought up this tool, gosh, what's it was a token or like a
Totem and an artifact
totem,
in
thank you. And your totem, which I think is really interesting, is a pair of glasses. Like you have glasses that are non-prescription glasses
yeah,
that you put on. When you put those on, you turn into Super Richard,
Super
kind of like
Richard.
Superman. So like you took the concept of Superman, you put on these glasses, and now you can walk up on stage and you're Super Richard.
Yeah. I mean, now it's almost 30 years on from me when I originally had done and gone and done that. But to pull people back into that story of the building of Super Richard, I I was a part of that was I was very insecure about how young I looked, and yet here I am. I'm going out and talking about the mental game, and I don't have a bunch of letters behind my name, from university. I was just someone who fell down the rabbit hole of understanding my own mindset from a middle teenage. I was about 13, 14, started picking up books on it because I wanted to understand myself better. And I knew I kind of felt like I had bigger aspirations than some of the people around me. And, but I was insecure with looking young and then not having these titles. One really weird one that I had created as a rule in my head was someone really shouldn't get up on stage and speak until they have three best-selling books. Right? Like, I mean,
I'm
to,
out.
I'm just, I would, I now, I posit this to the listener. Do you have any like really stupid rules in your own head that like causes you to get in your own way? That was one of them. It makes no sense whatsoever. Uh, so I thought, wait a second. Okay, so I've got Benjamin Franklin. He had his spectacles. Clark Kent, and Superman. Superman put on the glasses to be the mild-mannered version of him, which was a completely different superpower than Superman. Um, and so why don't I go out and get a pair of glasses? And this is in the late 90s. People weren't wearing glasses. People were getting LASIK eye surgery. No one was going out like they do today and use them as a fashion accessory. And even the optometrist tried to talk me out of it. They're like, you don't need glasses. And I'm like, can you just sell me the glasses, please? And she's like, but there's no prescription in it. I'm like, I know that. So I got the glasses and I would practice transforming into the feelings that I wanted as Super Richard before I would pick up the phone and make calls to try to get workshops. Because again, the purpose of Super Richard was to be the promoter. I'm building it for a specific identity. And that was a part of my big discovery is we don't have just one identity. There's no one Dave. There's many versions of you, right? There's
Yeah.
who you are when you're with your family. And then, because there's just elements of you that get magnified. And then who you are as this, very intentional listener when you're in, challenging and paying attention as a podcaster, right? And then when you're in your business, that's a different version of you. So if we think about our lives in the context of roles, we play many roles. Now, what I want to do is how can I help you build a very intentional and powerful version of you that's going to help you go and win on that field right there?
Hmm.
So we don't build an alter ego for our entire life. We build it into the context of an area of ourselves. And I'm telling you from the athletic and an entertainment standpoint, very powerful once they get that concept because they can leave this other version of themselves that might be very kind and nice on the sidelines and go out there and be the absolute tenacious, insert whatever other adjectives that you want version of you on that field. And it does not harm the person that you kind of feel is the most true version of you. I'm working with one of the top Champions League players in the world right now, footballer, on that very thing. And it took that one comment, 30 seconds. I could see it in his body language, the amount of weight just drifting off of his shoulders, going, oh. And the thing that he got was one, it's normal to do this. It's not a weird thing. It's actually the most it's one of the great intentional acts that you can do for yourself is to realize that. And now you get to go play with this, which is what I want to get people towards. Because once I have you into an attitude of playfulness, that's the final golden key that really unlocks flow state and the zone for people. Because if you always act through ego, I'm doing this and it's gritted teeth, you're going to get a certain result, but it's not going to be the one that is going to be transformative. And you're going to look back on what you just did and go, holy shit, where'd that come from?
Are those glasses you're wearing, are those prescription or are those
These
are
ones,
those your like
Dave,
your
sadly, they have moved into a prescription lens.
these, yeah, the ones I'm wearing are definitely not my totem. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
These are my $14 glasses from Amazon that help me see you more clearly up close.
yeah,
There was another totem that I thought was interesting. You mentioned in your talk, a VC guy, VC guy that's super powerful, kind of a jerk,
yeah,
a very direct person. And he realized like there were times when he was just being a little too much. So I had this picture of his grandmother on his desk. That picture was a token to remind him about
yeah,
kindness. Another one was somebody that the scenario doesn't matter. I'm just giving an example of other totems. Like this guy had Dumbledore's wand in
yeah,
his jacket because he
yeah.
wanted to like channel Dumbledore.
He can create magic. He's a real estate guy and one of the top. He's the actually not one of. He's the top guy in his state that he lives in. And he would put that in there when he was going out there to do deals or sign new clients because he was going to go create magic today. And again, I can't I can't tell you to go get Dumbledore's wand because I don't know if you like Harry
It's
Potter
not
or
my
it's
I
always
do. I
It's
do, just to be clear, but yeah, that's
okay.
not necessarily something I would
You're
gravitate
only saying
towards.
that, Dave, so that you don't get the Harry Potter haters coming after you. And I get it. That's
No,
a smart play. That's a
I'm
smart.
telling you, like you, I think you said when you were I think it was you that I said that when you were an adult, you started reading Harry Potter. Is that right? Or am I thinking
Um,
of I could be thinking of somebody else I was talking to
no,
recently.
that wasn't me.
So,
Harry
okay,
Potter
so
only came
I
out when I was
did.
an adult. Yeah.
I was full grown, man. And in fact, this is, it was actually before I had kids too. And like, I was digging all the
Were you?
Harry Potter books. Now, I wasn't reading them overnight like a lot of the 13-year-old girls out there,
Yeah.
but I was definitely consuming the Harry Potter books. So, needless to say, yes, I am into Harry Potter, but I do not have a wand in my sweatshirt pocket right now.
Yeah. But this guy, he just Dumbledore just resonated with him, and that's what I need when I'm working with someone on building out. And again, this is just one of the tools that I'm using when I'm working with leaders, or the alter ego isn't the only thing. It's a really powerful frame for people because once I can change your identity, it gives me a chance to change behaviors and habits and attitudes a lot more rapidly. But yeah, it has to be something that you resonate with. It has to be. I can't invent the character. I can't sell you an alter ego off the shelf. It has to be something that's meaningful to you.
Can you take me through a few examples? And if you don't mind, just because I think they're big names and it'd be fun to hear about their journeys, can you talk? You talked a little bit about Kobe
Yeah.
and the Black Mamba alter ego. Let's start with him. Why? And then maybe we can go to Rafael Nadal and then Cristiano Ronaldo. But tell me why? Who reached out to? Did Kobe reach out to you? Did he hear about you? Did somebody on his team reach out to you? Like, what was the issue? And why did they connect with you?
Issue was pain. Um,
Like physical
and
pain.
No, the pain of, well, I'll get to the story on
Okay.
it. So he's going through the sexual assault trial in Colorado, and people can actually watch the story if on HBO. There's a documentary that just came out last year
Oh,
on
so glad you said that.
the
Yeah.
making of Kobe, and I'm in episode 2 talking about that. Uh, and there's about a 5 minute segment just talking about the elements of the making of the Mamba.
Which, by the way, I remember you saying there's about 4 hours of interviews, and they
Four and a
turned that
half
into.
hours of interviews, and they're only yeah, a, a, a long day, let's just say.
That's funny.
So he reaches out through, he originally got connected to one of my mentors, key mentor, Harvey Dorfman, who's known as the Yoda of baseball, wrote what I think is the Bible of the mental game industry called Coaching the Mental Game, amongst many others. But Harvey was huge in baseball. Kobe got connected through one of his friends to Harvey, and then Harvey talked to him and then said, I actually think that you're a better fit for someone else that I collaborate with. And so Harvey had moved him to me. And some of that was also, and I don't really share it that much because it's not really relevant, but Harvey was just really busy with the baseball season, and he kind of thought that this looked like it was going to be a hornet's nest of, challenge. So I get connected. Harvey does the soft handoff. I get connected into Kobe. We have a conversation. And the thing that clinched it with Kobe in me understanding what he was going through, he said, I feel like I'm losing my edge. And I said, no, you're not losing your edge. You're going through an ego death, Kobe. And so that phrase, it just sort of hit him. And he was like, what do you mean? And I said, well, there's this persona and there's this idea of Kobe that's been relevant for now 7 years for you in the league. You're Michael Jordan's little brother or his little mentor. You've got this fresh-faced look. It's very much a strong. It's almost like John Gotti. It's the Teflon Don. Like nothing ever sticks to this guy. Like he's just perfect wife, perfect face, all these things, and that's gone. That's not going to come back. And the more that you try to
Because of the
cling,
sexual assault, the
yeah,
charges, yeah,
whether
the
true or
image,
not,
the image
the,
of it.
yeah.
Yep.
Um, and and so he was like, okay, yeah, I get it. And I said, the longer that you try to cling to this identity, it's going to keep you in a purgatory. And really, there's an opportunity for you to invent something new on the court. I'm not here to help you with personal brand stuff. That's for, other people, but I can help you with isolating how you need to think and approach the game on the court now and build a specific identity for that. And
Mm.
then that's where I introduced the idea. Back then, I didn't call it alter egos. I called it uh, basically character crafting, crafting the character that's going to
Mhm.
go out there and perform.
Mhm.
And so that's what we started with unpacking. Okay, well, what's going on? Why are you feeling like you're losing your edge specifically on the court? And for him, it was that it was the first time in his entire basketball career that he had started to think about what is going to be happening in the stands, like hearing people. He had never, he was like, it was always a sanctuary. The moment I get on the court, like it's just everything's in mute mode. I just get to go out there and play. Never, not when he was a 12-year-old, a 16-year-old, a 21-year-old, did he ever hear people. But now all of a sudden, as he's projecting his thought forward, so visualizing the upcoming season, because this is the end of July, beginning of August that we're talking of 2003, he's now all of a sudden sound is the new. That's why he was feeling like he was losing his edge. Like, and specifically, that's why. So immediately my thought goes to, okay, so the source of the character or the persona that we're going to build, if I could build it so that it actually in its root form, it doesn't even have hearing capabilities. So snakes don't hear things. Spiders don't hear things. Robots don't hear things. So I was already anchoring towards maybe a mechanical alter ego or uh, a what's called a closed loop organism, like snakes
Mhm.
and spiders. And so that's where that started. I kind of started throwing out ideas for him, and so
And
and
he ran
explaining
with one.
why.
Yeah.
And we ran with, and I gave him some homework to go and think through like which one of these might resonate. And then once we came back and had the next conversation, we started jumping off of that. And yeah, so we built up a very strong relationship in that 8 months, because he's a very goal focused individual. So he had something that he could just really focus his energy towards, that he had feeling like he had more control over, which was the stuff on the court.
And also, Michael Jordan hates snakes.
Yeah, that was the when I shared that with everyone. One of the other sort of
He's a little
reasons
perk.
why Kobe chose that is because Michael Jordan's greatest fear is snakes, and so in his own head, it was one of his ways of getting a one up on Michael.
So Harvey Dorfman was a mentor of yours. He's really the one from what I
Yeah,
recall that got you into this. You admired him. You went to visit him, that
yeah.
meet him, knock on his door, basically. And he connected you with Kobe. Who was the first, like, I don't know, superstar, megastar, mega athlete that you worked with where you're like, holy shit, I'm sitting here talking to Kobe. Like was when was that first moment where you're like kind of out of body experience thinking, who the hell am I to be talking to this person?
It's I don't know how it would come across. I never really had that.
Hmm.
And that is because of Harvey. Um, and Harvey really he spent a lot of time with me just reminding me that your value, like you've got value and people are coming to you for your value. Um, and so don't give up that posture. That's why I had to work so much at the character of who I was as a coach, because the moment that especially that elevated professional athlete, um, in the eyes of the public feels like you're there as a fan person, you've lost trust.
You
You've
did not
lost.
allow yourself to get starstruck by
No,
these
I
people you're
was,
working with.
yeah, and again, this is it's so lost today, and people do have access through Twitter and social media, but it's not the same as being behind the closed door. I went and spent 33 days with Harvey, and I got to sit in with Harvey while the greatest baseball players of that era were making their annual pilgrimage during the off season to come and spend a morning or a day with Harvey. And Harvey invited me to sit in on the sessions. So I was able to see. the greatest mental game coach, work with the elites. Like, I mean, these are superstar baseball players.
Yeah.
To your question, now that I think about it, that was probably when I was going through that whole starstruck thing, but
Yeah.
I wasn't the one delivering the value.
Yeah.
Harvey was. So
Yep.
I got to witness it. And one thing that I got to take away from Harvey, again, I'm a farm kid, ranch kid. I speak with I think, a very practical vernacular, and I don't mind swearing.
Was it Western Canada you grew up?
Yeah, I grew up on
With,
a farm and
eh,
ranch just in
eh,
Alberta.
and you had a real fascination with the Native
Native American. Yeah.
Americans up there,
Yeah.
and that's where your interest in Geronimo came from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just sort of rooted in the kind of the heritage of
Yeah.
our area. And I got to ride around on my horse Crackerjack as a kid and look for old Indian ruins and Native American stuff and collect
Yeah.
certain things.
Yeah.
But so going back to now, I'm in the room with Harvey and I'm watching him work with uh, one ultra superstar pitcher who was kind of sitting there and complaining a bit about his relationship with his wife at the time. And Harvey just said, "Oh my God, excuse the language, but are you fucking done, you little bitch?" And I was like, "Oh
Oh my
wait,
God.
like as a
That would have been
professional,
so fun to see.
I can swear at people." Like, and so I talked to Harvey about that. He's like, no, he's like, sometimes you got to hit them with the velvet hammer, Todd. And I'm like, I don't know how much velvet there was on that hammer. Like you hit him. And he's like, no, there's a power in using language like that because you and I, we hold a certain space and idea in their head. You know, we're working with on mental stuff and we don't know if they have us anchored towards the Ivy League professor with the, tweed jacket and the leather patches on their elbows. So, and he's like, and by the way, that's how we talk in baseball. Just because I'm in here and I'm helping that person navigate their inner game doesn't mean that I got to stop being who Harvey Dorfman is. That's how we talk. And so he really helped shape that. I'm like, oh, that's powerful. My point is apprenticeship is so lost today. You we think we have access to these people, but you don't. Apprenticeship,
Hmm.
he greased the slide for me so well, and he started funneling me professional clients, all because I took a bet and I cold called him and basically said, "Hey, you're the greatest thing since sliced bread," and all these other people that I read their psychology books. It doesn't really make sense because sports happens at a very different level than on a couch. Like how, how can I learn more from you? Can I come in and be your assistant? And so that's how I kind of talked my way into it with him.
All right. Talk to me about Cristiano Ronaldo. Just as another example. Where did he come from? How did you meet him? Why?
So he came in through Real Madrid, and my network of coaching relationships, and just now I'm several years into my career, uh, close to 14 years into my career. So I had built a name for myself, and it came in through a referral. Real Madrid was looking at building out more of a high performance program. They
Well,
were already
this was the peak group you had then, right?
the peak
The
athlete. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
peak
So,
athlete.
yeah.
And Real Madrid ended up buying that company from you.
Yeah. So they wanted to build out the world's largest and most advanced human performance university. And so when I was there in 2012, that's when they had started talking about this initiative. And I was kind of ready I had a bunch of traction happening in the business world as well. And I kind of wanted to shift some of my energy away from some athletes. I was kind of a little bit burnt out. And then I just had said, well, what if you buy my company? Like, because I had packaged things up into really good frameworks and intellectual property, which
Hmm.
most people in this industry aren't very good at, but I learned it through, again, another mentor on how to license um, IP and build frameworks and training properly. And that was really how I had grown and scaled up my business, was not me being the individual road show, but by actually building up a brand, which was the Peak Athlete. So they bought it, but I was there working with Real Madrid. That's how I ended up working with Cristiano. His alter ego, I don't, and his identity, I don't really ever talk about. Same thing with Rafa. I don't really talk about Rafa's, other than he did a great job of spending a few minutes before every match that he was going to go out and compete in by himself, transforming into that guy who was going to go out onto the court.
So, but let's going back to Ronaldo without necessarily sharing his alter ego. Did he raise his hand and say, "There's something I'm struggling with something. I need to figure out how to get past this," or was it like his
Team,
coach
team.
said, I want to do this for you"?
We're bringing in a guy to help you.
And
More
so, was
around.
he receptive to it, or was he kind of like just going through the motions because his coach told him to do it?
Um, I don't know if he was or wasn't receptive. Um, because when I gave the talk in front of the team, I had made reference to, listen, like it's okay to have a super ego, everyone. Like this entire world of sports has started to try to carve off some of your hard edges and make everybody into the same type of vanilla athlete where you're all supposed to be just completely emotionally stable all of the time. But for many of you, you have an attitude that is very healthy and it's helping you to perform at the level that you have. And your attitude is no one deserves to be out here with me right now. Because that's how the real top level talent thinks. They're not going to say it at the press conference. I'll say it for them. But that's how they really, and it helps to elevate their performance. And so Cristiano, when I got done unpacking my little monologue on it, stood up and then yelled at everyone in Spanish, basically. And I didn't know what he was saying. I thought he was basically saying this guy's an absolute moron. Don't listen to him. But it was essentially like, this is exactly right. This is exactly what you need to do. And this
Hell
is
yeah.
exactly. And then that's when I kind of had
Awesome.
Cristiano. So, and I mean, to now to make that relatable to everyone that's listening, that's an example of in business when you can explain with better words the problem to your buyers or your community of people better than they've heard anyone else describe it. You can frame it for them better. Now you own intellectual real estate in their head. And that's really powerful. The power of working on your language and your communication so that you're actually drawing towards you the people that you really do want.
What I love about that story is Ronaldo became what my team calls a mobilizer. So you communicated something to someone on the team who then got it
Yeah.
and brought the rest of the team on board. That to us is a mobilizer. Last thing I want to ask you about right now is can you, for the DIYers out here that are not yet of the caliber of Rinaldi or Kobe or can how do how do we get started? Other than I think buying your book is really the very
Just
first step because
buy
I
the
think
damn
you're
book.
no honestly like and this is not so much a plug. If you're into this and you want to build an alter ego, I think the book is a how-to guide basically.
It is.
But can you give us the much more abridged version? Like, what are the steps to creating? I suppose I want to, and here's what I'm going to build one for. I want to build one for me when I go on my boat. I love my boat. The worst part about it is I get high anxiety
Mm,
when I have to do something risky with it, which is often. Everything feels risky to me on that boat. It's
yeah.
high pressure. So like I want to like get that alter ego so I can go on that boat with my chin up.
Yeah.
What's the process?
So, well, I mean, in that case, uh, it's familiarize yourself with the experience as much as possible, right? Like the more and more, it's one of the greatest forms of helping anyone overcome a fear. We can do lots of things, but exposure. You got to expose people to it. Exposure therapy is still one of the premier ways of helping anyone start to see themselves in a new way, not be terrified or scared of something. So, but bringing it back to the context of building a new identity is one, we always start with what's the rule? what's the area of your life? And
Okay.
you just defined it.
The
It's
boat, right? Right. So I
yeah,
want
the
to go on
boat,
the boat, or I want to be a dad, or I want to go
the
speak
sailor.
up on stage, right?
Yeah.
I got to get up on stage in front of a group of people. That's super scary for a lot of people.
Yeah. So pick that one role. Second thing is what is it about how you're currently taking yourself into that role or even avoiding it in general, like I was. Like, I mean, my promoter, Super Richard, I was not even making the calls, but it was the vehicle that I needed in order to get to my goals and ambitions. So just a quick little, we're not doing therapy here, just highlights of what don't you like about the way that you're showing up on that field right now. So you just said it, like high anxiety, thinking about catastrophe, worried about the other boats that are out there,
I choose
probably
not to go sometimes because it's
not
just a little too windy.
not wanting to look bad.
Yep.
Yeah, the wind. Okay. So that's the way that you're approaching it right now. So let's flip it. What would be the opposites of those things? So
Hmm.
now we're looking at, well, what are the traits that I do want? Just like I wanted to be decisive, confident, and articulate. That's because I was indecisive. I didn't have, I was so insecure and I couldn't communicate myself out of a phone booth. So now I'm confident, decisive, and articulate. Those were the traits that I wanted. So when you're thinking about this identity and this role of being the sailor or the boatsman, what are the traits that you do want? Okay, now to couple with that, anyone or anything that already has those traits that you're inspired by, like someone or something. It could be a Harry Potter character. It, who knows? Because what people get wrong with this is they think, oh, because I'm picking this idea of a sailor or a boatsman, I need to pick something that's in that realm. No, 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 no. Don't put limiters on your creative imagination. Like, who knows where it could be coming from? And it can be fictional characters, it could be superheroes, it could be, ancestors or people from your past. It could be historical figures, it could be animals. That's another category, right? Kobe Bryant's Black Mamba. It could be robots, mechanical things. It could be nature. So there's no rules around it, but something that can help to embody the traits. What are we doing here? We're flicking the creative imagination on. We're allowing a different perspective with it. And then we go to, all right, so now how can we start to um, trigger this thing? How can we make it come alive? Well, I'm always going to index towards something in the physical world. People really underestimate the power of, that's why I talk about totems and artifacts, uniforms, having something specific that you can create a ritual around because the item holds the story of the identity. And rituals are far more powerful than habits, far more powerful than a routine because ritual is story plus behavior mixed together. And our brain is very much wired for that. We've all heard this, how our brains are wired for story. But people just don't intentionally work it that way. Well, I'm just working with the way that the human brain is wired. So that's step four is now how can we embody this? I had the glasses where I practice putting them on and then I'm going to embody that thing and I'm practicing myself into it. This isn't this isn't woo woo guys. We practice ourselves into so many things that we already do naturally. I'm just using traits to practice. Practice being more decisive. What's the movement look like? Practice being more confident. And if I can do it for 5 seconds, I'm not looking for perfection here, Dave. I'm looking for 5 seconds because if I can do five, I can get to 10. And if I can do 10, I can get to 15. If I can get the NBA guy to be powerful for 15 seconds on the court because he's intentionally embodying that thing, great. Next game, we're going to do it for 20, 25, 30. And then all of a sudden, they finish a game and they're like, I didn't even think about it, Todd. Like it would just happen naturally. It just was. Yes, because you've become unconsciously competent. It's just become and that's the beautiful part of this whole process. It comes full circle.
I've
And
already,
so,
this is such a great way to end it. I mean, you've already helped me process this a little bit. When I was down at my boat, my wife and I were going to take a day trip somewhere. It was a little windy. I was feeling anxious about it. Should we go? Shouldn't we go? You go down there and there's this older couple sitting in their boat. It was super kind, mild-mannered older
yeah,
guy and his wife. And and we start talking to them, and they had just gotten back from doing the America's Great Loop, which is a 6,000 mile cruise down the coast, and I mean up the coast to the Great Lakes, and then down the center, and like it's six
Cool.
thousand mile journey.
Yeah.
It's amazing, amazing. And in my head, I start thinking, man, I think I want to do that. Like that's a great like when it sell the business and go
Yeah.
off and do that 6,000 mile tour with my wife. And thinking about that made me realize that this day trip I was worried about was nothing.
Nothing.
And so we did it, and it was easy, and everything worked great. That very mild-mannered elderly couple would be a great start for an alter
There you
ego
go.
for me. And it's just
Yeah.
so you would never think to take this like elderly couple and make them your alter ego. It's brilliant. It's fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, that's a great example of I can't predict where you're going to get the source
No,
code
you would
from.
never guess that.
Yeah, no, no. But yeah, you give people enough examples or you kind of rattle their cage enough and all of a sudden some little golden nugget pops out.
Todd, what's the best way for people to reach you if they want to connect with you?
Carrier pigeon. I'm pretty old school. No. My home base on the interwebs is toddherman.me and most of my handles on social media are Todd_Herman.
Thank you, Todd. Really, really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, I hope this helps.